Onana will come back in the summer, but he has no place at Manchester United. Højlund will move. Manchester United will move on a lot of their loan players next summer, which means money's going to come in. And there's a few new players being linked to Manchester United. I was actually saying it in my video earlier today or yesterday. All we keep hearing is Elliot Anderson, Baleba Wharton. Now we've got a bit of João Gomez. It's a bit more interesting, but I was like, give us some new names. Give us some new names. And Manchester United have been linked to 3 new names today, and 2 of them would be fantastic bits of business. Manchester United could be moved for 2 talents that I think would be very good moves that nobody's even been speaking about. We're going to talk about that 25 million bargain, good sources on that. We'll talk about some clever business United can do. And Cheeto training with the first team, could he get some minutes? So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show where I'm going to round up all the latest Manchester United news into 10 minutes for you guys. If you are new, I do a 10-minute roundup every single day so you can stay up to date. Let's dive into it. So starting with some updates from Mr. Fabrizio Romano. Andre Onana will return to Man United in the summer as there's no buy option in his contract. He's actually doing quite all right on loan in Turkey. I assume that he knows he's not going to play, so he'll probably go on loan again, or maybe someone will do a permanent deal. But as Romano said here, United are super happy with Seny Lamons, and my understanding is that Onana will not be part of the future, and they will likely try and sell him. Onana is going to probably be a little bit of a Jadon Sancho because of his wages, because of how much United might want for him. He might go on loan again, but I think Onana, rather than staying, is going to be like, well, I ain't going to get a load of minutes because Lamons is number 1. Visset could be in. We've been linked with that Swedish young goalkeeper earlier. Onana himself will be just looking for a move and probably part of the bomb squad next summer. Let's be totally honest. So even though he's coming back, I think he won't play for us again, and I think he will be gone. Romano was then asked about the exits of Højlund, Rashford, Sancho, and Onana. He said that no decision's been made yet on Rashford, but Barcelona are happy with him. Sancho, Man United are not expected to renew his contract. I mean, it'd be silly if we did. But the interesting one was Højlund, and Romano said this. It's completely over between Manchester United and Rasmus Højlund. There's no chance of him coming back. The expectation is for Napoli to sign him on a permanent deal. So Romano was saying it's completely over between Manchester United and Rasmus Højlund. And we also had that report come out the other day that Rasmus Højlund 100% sees himself as a Napoli player. He does not see himself as a Man United player anymore. Of course, Napoli have had a bit of a blip in their season, and if they don't finish in the top 4, they don't have to do the obligation on Højlund, and that could be a possibility with their blip and their injuries that have happened. But no, United are quite, I think, comfortable in their position with Højlund, that they think he will go to Napoli. Højlund thinks he'll go to Napoli, and apparently Napoli want to sign Højlund. Anyway, let's talk about Keys Smith, because this is a very young, talented midfielder that's been compared to Pedri, compared to Frankie de Jong, that's now being linked to Manchester United and a few Premier League clubs, and interestingly, AZ Alkmaar are willing to sell. United hold interest in AZ Alkmaar midfielder Keys Smith. Viral has mentioned his name in internal talks. Many top European clubs are in the race. Expectation of a fee of around 25 million. So this was said by Sully. Now, obviously, they want to make a record fee. The record fee is 21 million for Reinders, so 22 to 25 million is expected. He's a young midfielder. He's very highly rated in the Netherlands. I don't know how he would transition to the Premier League, but this is someone as a second midfield signing. If you bring Elliot Anderson in, and you want a second midfield signing, this is the kind of guy you bring in. He's not the guy that I think is going to answer our questions, but it's someone that, we're not expecting, someone that we haven't been linked to, but someone that's incredibly talented. And I think, could be, if you don't get Angelo Stiller, I think, for me, I know we had this talk about Baleba earlier, but I think you go for Elliot Anderson and Baleba. But if you can't get Baleba, United will look at the Stillers, the João Gomez, or maybe someone like Keys Smith. Now, he predominantly plays as a box-to-box midfielder. He's played all over, but he is a box-to-box player. He's also been linked to Newcastle because Keith Downey, who's a very good Newcastle journalist, said that AZ Alkmaar will not stand in the way of selling him. They'll be looking for 22 million, or in excess of 22 million. Newcastle were interested, but Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man United are all there. He's keen to test himself at the highest level, and AZ are willing to sell. So if we're talking about a midfielder that we could buy in January, we don't know if we can buy Baleba, Wharton, Anderson in January, but this is someone we could bring in the January window, and it's someone that United might consider. And to give you a little bit of context on the player, Counter Presses spoke about the player earlier today. When watching a highly touted player like Keys Smith, I'm looking to identify early indicators that they are scalable. Clean execution of action, any wasted motion, steps, touches, decision making, how frequently do you make the right decisions, athletic range, how well do you absorb contact, ride challenges, handle fatigue, which I think is why some players struggle when they come to the Premier League, and zone dominance, how can you influence play? But he's saying he ticks those boxes: good decision making, influences play well, good on the ball, reckons he can do it physically, and has good execution of action. I've only watched him play a couple of times, so obviously I couldn't tell you loads about Keith Smith. I've probably watched him play like twice, but I've heard good things about him. He is a good talent. And a player that I've heard a lot about recently, and actually recently watched, is Jeremy Jacket. And also we've been linked to another player in Mohamed Kader Meet. I don't know if I've said that right, so I do apologise. So I'm not really sure on, but Jeremy is an absolute monster of a centre-back, and I think he could be the next one. And I think having him and Lenny Yoro as the future of our defence would be absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. He's obviously only 20. I think he could be our Mascara. You know how Mascara's young, not cost a load of money, gone to Arsenal as backup. I'm looking at it and thinking we've got De Ligt, Yoro, Leacher, Aiden Heaven. I think this could be our Mascara type signing. And on him, this is things that have been said. Not many young centre-backs who love to defend like Jeremy Jacket. Front-footed, interceptions when the defensive line is high, good tracking of runs to clear the box and cover defending. When isolated in transition, he looks immense for a 20-year-old. He's one of the best defensive prospects in football. He has everything you want in a modern centre-back, able to defend the channel, carry the ball, break the lines. All top clubs should be over him. And I look at it, and these are two players, technically three, that United haven't really been linked to. No one expects in Jeremy and, of course, Keys. That I'm like, well, these would be quite smart signings from United. I can't expect them to be loads. These can be our Mascara and Norgard type signings that Arsenal have done just to build that depth, because I assume we will be in Europe next season. Our squad is good enough for Europe next season, and I quite like that. Anyway, let's get into some final Manchester United news and stories. Chido Obi was invited to train with the senior team this week and was happy to be back in the fold. Obi could be called upon to play more of a role in the coming months, with the club still assessing the extent of Sesko's injury. There was a report that Obi wasn't happy that he was getting a bit of minutes and then he's been thrown back in the under 21s. But the reason Obi's not getting minutes is because we're not in Europe and we can't give Xerxes minutes. If we're in Europe, there's a possibility Obi gets a few minutes like he did last season. He's obviously not got any minutes this season. There's talk that he's unhappy in the under 21s and he's unhappy he's not getting minutes. But he's also 17, like it's not the end of the world. And he's probably happy to be training with the first team and his name to be up there. As I've always said, if any academy player is going to get minutes this season, it's going to be Shea Lacey when the others have gone to AFCON. Like if any academy player is going to get minutes, it'll be Shea Lacey whenever goes to AFCON. Because we're not in Europe, I don't think we're going to see Jim Place or Jet Fletcher or Chido Obi get loads of minutes. We're not even seeing Maynard and Xerxes play minutes. Aiden Heaven's not getting a load of minutes as well. You know, I think there's talk of Seko Kone going on loan because United are like, well, we can't give him minutes. Harry Amas has gone alone and smashing it. Vitek has gone alone and smashing it. So I think loan is, you know, probably what we might do for a lot of young players in January, because I think we've realised that we're not going to be able to give them the minutes that they want. Anyway, people, that was your 10-minute roundup. To add to that, Shea Lacey scored his first goal for England's under-20s tonight in their 1-1 draw against Japan. United are just managing Shea Lacey really well because of the injury issues that he's had. But yeah, that is your 10-minute roundup. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Feel free to hit that like button. You're welcome to subscribe if you are new. I will be back in the morning, potentially with a live stream. It depends how much news there is. But I'm out and about all weekend in different places. I'm all over London, and then I've got to go up north. So yeah, I've got loads on at the moment. So we'll see. But I do want to do a live stream, so I've been slacking on that. Thank you for watching. Bye.